You're having breakfast with a boy you slept with last night but don't know very well. In fact, you don't know him at all. You met in a bar near campus, the kind you usually don't go into. Peanut shells littering the floor, pool tables between you and the ladies' room, not a potted fern or plate glass window anywhere. And you let him talk you into going back to his place, not for a nightcap. You sensed the word nightcap would be as unlikely to cross his lips as motif or semiotics or deus ex machina. No, what he said was, "You want to go hang at my spot?" You had drunk enough margaritas with amaretto floaters to nod dumbly. You would have dog-sledded with him across a cracking ice floe, followed him into an Ebola epidemic, tribal warfare. What you did was stumble to a stucco house 2 blocks away, through a dirt yard and past an enormous American flag serving as a curtain for the picture window, into your latest ill-advised erotic encounter. This morning you gave him a blowjob, then felt nauseous, ran to the bathroom with a blanket wrapped around you in case any of his roommates were home, and threw up. It was probably due to all the tequila last night, but still. It seemed rude to swallow someone's cum and then race from the room, gagging, to kneel in front of the toilet. At breakfast, there are long silences. You keep your sunglasses on. He's so beautiful you want to weep. He's so beautiful you know you can't have him. You want to own him like a pet, to drag him back to your room with you and not let him leave the dorm except in your company. He lives in a room with peeling wallpaper the color and texture of a Triscuit. You remember a mattress on the floor, a pile of dirty laundry by the mattress, a couple of ants crawling over the current issue of Car and Driver. There wasn't a single book in the room, unless you counted an ancient Yellow Pages sprawled in the corner, bloated from water, as though it had been rescued from the toilet down the hall. In the bathroom was a pile of Hustlers with his name on the subscription labels. You can't believe that you, an English literature major at an extremely well-regarded private college, licked the balls of someone who doesn't read. You look at him across the table, at his dark hair falling in his eyes, and wonder if he likes you. Last night, the 2 of you talked nonstop. You try to remember what you talked about, but all you can call up is some comment he made about liking your blue cowboy boots and a comparison of your drug histories. He smoked pot twice and once ate a Vicodin by accident. You spent your senior year of high school stoned and did so much ecstasy you had to be hospitalized over spring break. Your head starts hurting, so you give up trying to remember anything. Don't think. Focus on the present. Why doesn't he say anything? Why does he just sit there looking like a god, drinking tea from a tall glass embellished with, "It can't be, but you see now there are naked women on the glass"? You look around the restaurant, but there's nothing to hint at pornographic glassware. There are 2 large, badly executed oil paintings, one of wild horses and another of wild geese. The horses are doomed to extinction. The geese have nowhere to fly but into the wall. Ordinary glass salt and pepper shakers adorn the tables. The women on his drinking glass aren't drawn on, but, how would you say it? Blown. Their breasts and bellies protrude. He lifts them to his lips. You can feel yourself getting wet, and you shift in your seat. You can't stand the silence any longer, so you say, "Are you always so quiet when you come?" He barely made a sound this morning as you knelt before him, the mattress buttons digging into your knees. You're a very verbal person usually, and you get paranoid when people don't talk. Maybe he was gritting his teeth this morning, wishing he'd never invited you in. Maybe he's sitting there now thinking the same thing you're thinking, "My God, what have I done?" He shifts in his seat now, too, and lowers his eyes like he's embarrassed. The waitress is suddenly there with your breakfast, and you can see by the look on her face she heard your question, or at least the phrase, "when you come," and you lower your eyes to the plate she sets in front of you. You try to remember something, anything from last night's conversation. Surely there must be some common ground. There was discussion about prisoners asking for kosher meals. Who had brought that one up? "What do they think it is, summer camp?" he had said. "It's prison, feed 'em slop." This comment had made you extremely anxious, so you drank another shot of tequila. By this time you were at his kitchen table, trying to put together a 2-piece child's wooden puzzle. The pieces were supposed to form a pyramid. You spent half an hour or so fruitlessly turning them at various angles to each other, unable to figure it out, until he finally showed you. Of course, it was simple, a matter of changing your perception slightly, and the trick became obvious. This is how your sexual life often feels. Things almost fit, but you don't seem to have the knack of looking at them in the right way. You have long periods of no boyfriend, then there are too many and you can't choose. You love boys who leave you. The ones who love you don't satisfy you sexually. You go home with illiterate people who probably, if they knew the first thing about you, would want you locked up and fed slop. You eat your eggs and English muffin and they taste like glue. You can't remember who made the first move last night, when the sexual tension slid into actual fucking. Don't call it lovemaking. He didn't even ask if you came. You didn't. He said you were pretty before he fell asleep, one arm across your breasts like an iron bar. You try to think of analogies from literature, of stories in which an unlikely prospect ends up being the love of a girl's life, and realize that despite your expensive first-class education, your heart is busy living in a cracker-box apartment, reading cheesy romance novels on the Bernhold couch, getting fat on Mr. Pretzels and Little Debbie cupcakes. It's obvious that this boy is a simpleton, a dullard, a bête noire. In short, not to put too fine a point on it, a dumbass. You can see this clearly in the buzzy fluorescent glare of the restaurant, watching the way he fondles the women on his glass with his ignorant, thickly padded fingers. You realize you are going to have to tell him right now, or okay, maybe in a text tomorrow, that you can't ever see him again. You lift your fork and stare at his mouth. He smiles. He has big, beautiful teeth, perfectly even and white, like tablets you could write your autobiography on, if you could write small enough. And just like that, the next 7 months of your life go down the drain.